with the amount of millions of dollars that was spent, spend some more millions. If I was obstructing the work of the president, if I was doing things against the country, if I was obstructing and impeding the progress of the nation, you spend some millions to start, spend some more millions to get rid of me. But when you have a situation where in an interview with Tomalin George, the vice president of the republic when he was in the United States, when he was asked, what if the Supreme Court said Kufuor as speaker? I quote, the vice president said, but then he's the speaker. When the Supreme Court said it, guess what happened? Amnesia set in. So I don't think it's not that people knew or know what was going on wrong. This is a historic time that people turn a blind eye for partisan reasons, for political reasons, to say right won't be right this time, wrong will be right, and we will do what we want, regardless of the Constitution and laws of this country. That is heartbreaking. Okay, and for us, we did not choose to return in kind. What we did was say, okay, you can have the baby. There will be reckoning, a day of reckoning someday for all of us. And at that point, we'll all look back at this time and we'll all admit that something went wrong.
What did you do that led us into this mess? What didn't you do to convince your guys and say you guys were united? I mean, you could have done enough to make Liberia better.
Stanton, let me say this. Hindsight, I was not as effective a leader as I should have been, right? We came in with a coalition, CDC independence, a very narrow victory. Maybe we should have waited on the reform measures that we wanted to introduce. I knew it was going to be a tough road to hold because I knew how the House operates. Maybe I should have relaxed myself for a year or two. Maybe I should have let people splurge. Maybe I could have reached across to others better. For us to have gotten here, I was not as effective a leader as I should have been. And that is my regret, and that is my apology. And for that, I will continue to try to improve myself. But maybe that's why we got here. Maybe that's why people were able to manipulate the system and my colleagues to launch this fight. The mistake they made was to think that it was going to be a normal fight like in the Snow and Tyler case. We showed them that it couldn't have been because we turned it into a legal fight, a constitutional fight, a fight for the hearts and minds of the Liberian people.
Do you think maybe the 56, maybe the 57, whatever may come in the near future, do you think this will ever happen illegally again? Because of you now, a lot of Liberians have understand and they have come to a place to say, no, you cannot remove a speaker like that. You did that to Alex Tyler, you did that to Edwin Snow. Funati came out differently. Do you think you have impacted change in the nation?
Yes, I don't think any president want to go through the agonizing period of having a government that is not functioning and the international community and our friends looking at us like, what are they doing? So in the future, I believe for the removal of a speaker, I think the colleagues will be able to get their resolution, go under that speaker. And, you know, people come and say, oh, the speaker will seize this, the speaker will, you have remedy, okay? You can have injunction and all kinds of other legal remedies to prevent the speaker from imposing self-interest over the interests of the House by trying to entrench himself. So there are procedures. Plus, I think what is going to happen, you will see, as a result of this, the House is going to go back and tighten their rules. Okay, they will go back and we'll tighten our rules on how this is done because we are all embarrassed. Okay, we all didn't want this to happen this way. Those who engineer it, deceived those who approved it to say it was going to be quick and easy. It turned out not to be that way. So we'll all go back and we'll all go to the drawing board. I think the rules will be fixed. And I don't think for the third highest office in the land that the Constitution requires be elected by members of the House will ever be prone to manipulation of outsiders again.
Who you think deceived who? Who led to this? Who are the architects? But you know who the guys that actually led to your removal today or your resignation today? The key players. I'm going to call some name. We're having a very serious open interview here. Do you think the vice president was involved, Jeremiah Cole?
I'm not going to call names. I'm looking ahead, Stanton. I'm not looking back.
Yeah, okay.
Those who are involved, those who were involved, they know themselves. And the Liberian people probably know them, but I really don't want to look back at them. I don't see them now. I don't see them now. I'm looking ahead.
Do you think President Boga, who have said to you, my son, I am the president, I want to work with a rescue speaker, will you have listened and step aside?
I would have listened. I think that's a conversation. Because let me tell you something, okay? The Constitution says 3 equal but coordinated branches of government. Okay? I would have listened to the president because he is the head of government. I would have disagreed with the president unless there were concrete examples as to why he felt I was obstructing in a manner that the government couldn't function. For partisan reason, I would not have accepted to step aside. If it is only because Rescue wanted the job, and clearly Rescue wanted this job, that would not have been sufficient reason for me to step aside. That would have been sufficient reason probably for Rescue to muster the courage and the votes to remove me. But a conversation with the president, I will always listen. A conversation with the president, I will always be respectful of.
I mean, you try your best. So let's just go with the Senate. You only kind of learn as pro tem and all the leadership in the Senate. Were you treated well? Because at first they said, most recently we saw Senator DeLong say you are the speaker. You heard that when it came from the court. He said you are the speaker after the Bill of Information. And also you saw our friend Nathaniel Fallow McGill saying you are the speaker. Were you treated well by members of the Senate?
I don't think the Senate played a role as sophisticated house. I'm lack of a better words here. I don't think the Senate played a good role in this whole saga. But then again, there were situations where the Senate was divided over this issue, and the majority carried the day.
Let's talk about, let's stay within that, and then we'll come to the fire incident, the investigation. We'll talk about the way forward. But let's talk about Thomas Falah. What do you think as Deputy Speaker?
I don't want to get into personalities, Stanton. Deputy Speaker is who the Deputy Speaker is.
You from CDC, he from CDC.
That is correct.
Would you betray the Judas with the case?
No, I think the Deputy Speaker and I had a different viewpoint on how we bring leadership to the legislature. I wish we had closer communication. I think they developed an avenue of mutual distrust. And so we could not see eye to eye to fix this crisis before it became a full-blown crisis.
Did you consider him as a friend? Have you spoken to him since?
I have not spoken to him since, no.
Is he still your colleague, though?
He's a colleague. He's a member of the House. As a matter of fact, He's more senior than I am now. He's a deputy speaker, and I'm number 73. So he's number 2. I'm number 73. So therefore, he's both a colleague and someone higher in leadership than I am.
Will you accept any position, a leadership position?
No, I would not.
Speaker?
No, I would not.
Why not?
Stanton, I want to take some time out to reflect. I want to take some time out to work in my constituents. They have been neglected for nearly a year now. I want to spend more time doing constituency work, so I would not be able to do leadership work for the next 3 to 4 years.
Let's talk about the former president, your friend, George Manneh Weah. Was his intervention enough? Did he do everything to solve this problem and gave you unnecessary help?
I think the former president did what was within his powers to do. I think he did it well. I think he did well in standing by me. He touched those he wanted to touch that could have made a difference. And overall, I appreciate all that he did to stand by me in this time of crisis.
Is there anything you don't want to say? The president spent 48 days out of the country when you were in Rome. The president came late to the game. I'm an independent, network individual. I can say what I think, but you can say something different. Do you really think President George Manneh Weah got involved on time and treated the situation like you expected, though?
Yeah, but Stanton, I think we mix it in the age of social media and in the age of this sophisticated communication. President Weah, when I was in Rome, was involved. He got involved. He didn't have to be in Liberia because you can pick up the phone and call anybody. He was one of those who first alerted me to take this seriously when I was in Rome. Okay, in fact, he told me to return. Okay, and forget about the visit with the Pope. You need to return now. Okay, so we can fix this. All right. But again, it was my choice as a Catholic. This is Wednesday. The appointment to see the Pope is Friday. Do I then turn around and come to go save my seat for a job and leave the opportunity of a lifetime? That was my decision. So to the extent that those 2 days cost me the speakership, it's my responsibility. But to say President Weah wasn't working, he was working. One thing about him in this crisis was that he worked a lot from the background and said, look, I'm here. Whatever you want to do, tell me, I will do it. How far you want to take this ball, tell me, I will carry it with you. When you fall, I will help pick it up. I am behind you. And I never saw a day, even I myself got embarrassed at times to call President Weah, to call this person or call that person or call the other person. So to say that because he was here or he was there.
But now you're talking, because if you don't say it, we would not know. You are telling the nation, and this is your first time saying it, that while you were in Rome, the president called you and said, go back home, 2 days.
He was the first to call me. Beside my colleagues, he was the first person to call me to say, you need to get back to Monrovia now. We are facing a crisis. And he's been there. So,
yeah, but
you're going to say, oh, that your friend.
No. I appreciate the fact that you are saying it, because what happened is that most people felt, and I felt, President Weah left you on the wayside. If you can tell us tonight that you were on constant call with President Weah, my man, leave Jose Yeman Boakai. Don't meet the Pope right now. We have some serious issue going on in Liberia. Please, my friend, come home. And you made the choice to stay. Then I think it's worth saying for the nation to hear. Don't you think so?
But absolutely. That's why I say it's sorry. So he called.
Okay. Good morning, Liberia. Rise and shine from the boozing streets of Monrovia or the farmlands of Bong, from the fishing towns of Grand Bassa to the forest lands of Bapalo. A new day is here. And of course, this is the Today Show, the Spoon Breakfast program, live on your airwave. with me, Yekezi Zwobel. This is Liberia's trusted morning talk show where we break down the biggest political developments, decode the economy, examine heart of the society, explore the spiritual direction of our nation. Again, my name is Yekezi Zwobel, and every morning we bring you not just information, but understanding, accountability, and truth. In these early hours, when the country wakes, it is our duty to ask the questions that matter. What decisions our leaders are making? How do they affect the ordinary people? Why are prices rising or falling? And what do they mean for your home, for your market, and for your wallet? How are your communities coping with the social change? And what role is faith playing in our national healing? Here on the Today Show, or the Spoon Breakfast program, I'm joined by my colleagues, Trokon, and that of Sylvester Wowie. We don't shy away from tough debates. We embrace them respectfully, intelligently, and fearlessly. As the sun rises, so must our awareness. As Liberia faces challenges, so must we seek solutions. And as we begin this day, we invite you, the listener, to be more than an observer. Be a participant in the future of our country. All you've got to do is to grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever that starts your day. Let's start this morning to get informed, inspired, and united. Welcome to it once more. I'm Yekezi Zwobel. And of course, I'm here alongside Sylvester Wowie. You've been listening to a very interesting interview with the former speaker, J49T Kofa. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting interview. Very, very interesting. Very, very revealing. Oh, yes. Today is going to be very dramatic at the House of Representatives following the resignation of J49T Kofa as Speaker. So election is going to be held. And as a matter of fact, the Honorable House of Representatives released statement to that effect, and we're going to be reading that statement here this morning on the show. It's 12 minutes flipping 8 o'clock. We will cut across Liberia to speak to a few of our correspondents this morning. And then we dive into some of the trending issues, like what's going to be happening at the capital today. Give our perspectives and open the line so that you too can call in and give your perspectives about some of those happenings. At 9 o'clock, we speak to the Deputy Director for Administration at the National Food Assistance Agency. Bob Cato is going to be our guest here at 9 o'clock. We'll discuss issues relative to the National Food Assistance Agency. As you may know, the President of the Republic of Liberia released an executive order, recent Executive Order 149. How is that going to be implemented or executed by the NFAA? We're going to be asking all of those questions here on this morning. We'll ramble through the local daily on the flip side of 9 o'clock. Plus a lot more. Wherever you are and whatever you are doing, keep your dial set. This is your most preferred breakfast program. So let me welcome in Sylvester Wowie. Sylvester, it's been a while. How are you?
Okay, good morning, Yakazid. Okay, good morning, Yakazid, and good morning to the many listeners. Yeah, it's good to be back on the show. I mean, a long story short,
Where have you been?
Morovia as usual.
Okay, let me leave you. I don't want to probe more.
Yeah, don't go down further.
Okay, so yeah, folks, that's it right here on the Today Show. We begin with cutting across Liberia. This morning, let's see if we're gonna speak to our man, Victor Cooper from all the way there in Nimba County, to fill us in with what's happening there in Nimba. And then we'll go over to Bong County to speak to Conquest Bokakoli, and then Grand Bassa to speak to King Brown to tell us what's happening in their respective counties. This morning, I'd like to say good morning to all of you watching the show via Spoon TV, Fabric TV, Super TV, and via our YouTube channel. Good morning and a pleasant welcome. Let's have a wonderful time together. Now we have on the line Victor Cooper, our Upper Nimba County correspondent, to tell us what's happening currently in Nimba County. Victor, good morning and welcome to the show.
So, pleasant good morning, Yekezi. Good morning to you. Good morning to our many listeners. Good morning to the Liberian people.
Okay, it's good having you, Harris, up on Nimba this morning. Are you in Gompa City?
Yeah, I just arrived from Yekipa last evening, but I'm in Kanta right now. We're doing better for what I am, and those places are past. It's okay, except where we're getting some information coming from Yekipa that is not in the interest of the Liberian people.
And what is that information?
So before we tap into that, there is information coming from Kanta. Before then, we were to report on that yesterday about the situation with Dr. Peter George in the country.
Okay.
And that of one of the alleged victims of Dr. Peter George surgery in Nimba County. One Adonai Miller, who is a business personnel in Nimba County, is accusing Dr. Peter George of allegedly killing his wife during his time as medical doctor at the E&J Medical Center in 2020.
Okay.
So the situation since is back up, though it are going viral on social media, but we have done our own fact finding with him, but he confirmed that he believes, based upon the credential that Dr. Peter George is putting out now, it shows him that Dr. George is not a medical doctor, but just a practical person. But then he was the one responsible for the death of the woman in 2020 after her surgery.
Okay, yes, it's so important. And for those of you who don't know Dr. Peter George, he is the doctor who, former president of the Liberia Dental and the Medical Council. Yep. So he was removed from the position right after it was determined that he's been operating on fraudulent credentials. He never obtained any medical degree to be a surgeon, but he's been falsely operating as a surgeon, and that was discovered of recent. And there have been a lot of testimonies coming up how his operations killed several individuals. But we understand he's not in the country. He's left the country already. He released a statement, but didn't actually address the main issue. All that he said was that everything that was happening is politically motivated, even though he did not address the main issue that has to do with his credential, whether he has a legitimate credential. Because if you are accused of having a fraudulent credential and you are even removed from a position for that, and you come in with justification, that justification should be about how legitimate your credential is, how real, your credential is. But he was just focused on how politically motivated the entire situation is, not telling us where he graduated from, how did he get his degrees and everything. But that's it. It's just unfortunate that we'll have, such an incident in the country, doctors operating for, and that's the most risky thing. I mean, you can do that with other professions. I don't support it, in other professions, but it's riskier being done in the medical field, because you're dealing with the lives of human beings. And a little mistake is death, and life cannot be restored. It cannot be bought. All right. So it's just an unfortunate situation there in Gompa City, Nimba County. But I understand he did worked for the ENJ Medical Center. Is that the only hospital he worked with in Nimba County? And if so, how long did he work with the ENJ Medical Center?
To answer your question is yes, it was the only hospital he worked with at the time. After the hospital was opened to the public, in few years later, he was assigned there as medical doctor. So he worked there from 2018, somewhere around 2018, coming all the way to 2020 before his transfer to Bapolu County. So he worked here. There were 2 minute surgery he carried out here. Over 200 people were being operated on here from different places. Even he used to bring teams from out of the country to come and join him, work together and carry on surgery here. So he was almost a medical doctor in the county. He was very renowned in the work. He was popular. People used to come around and work with him. So on that note, people believed in him that indeed he was a kind of documented person, so they should go after him. That's why prompted almost many of the Liberian people, including Donald Melo, who today of them, to carry his wife to him for that operation because she was pregnant.
Yeah, that was just a C-section. C-section. Something I think it should be common for any professional medical doctor who knows his job.
Sure. So for that situation now, after that, not too long, he took a transfer to Bapolu County. But I don't know, say all along, usually it can happen where some people can die in labor. So you're not really blaming the orthopedic job, but with the information coming out now, him believes and getting the strong conviction that based on his credential that he put out and a medical doctor, I found there might be his fake practices that in play on the woman at the time where she lost her life in the process. But we asked him whether there is a lawsuit. He said there will be no lawsuit because what is the intent of taking lawsuit? Is it to spend money, but it's just for him to clarify to the public because during the time people said him being a businessman, he was accused of also killing his own wife in the county. So people said the money he carried also a blood money. He was also accused everywhere on social media. So he was saying that the reason why he's taking media at this time is because he wants to clear the doubt of the public that he did not kill his wife. He's now a ritualist. So that the PJ should be blamed for the death of the wife. Now that he has getting to understand that the PJ is now a medical doctor. So he is said to be now a ritualist. So it is that the PJ who killed the wife in the county.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think Adonis Meta is a businessman and he's business minded. He probably doesn't want to spend money, but maybe he thinks it's just going to be for nothing spending of money because even if you file a lawsuit against him, it's not going to bring back his wife, to life. But I think it's necessary, to file a lawsuit because there are a lot of testimonies, coming up for the fact that it's been proven that he's been operating on fake documents and he's allegedly killed a lot of patients in the process. I think a lawsuit is necessary, even though he's escaped and it's going to be difficult to get him, but I think he can be extradited for prosecution wherever he is. Once a lawsuit is filed against him, then he come to justify or to tell us how he got his degree. If the allegation against him, if is false, or the information discovered about him, I don't want to call that an allegation. If the information discovered about him is false, let him come and prove it in the court of law. And if not, let him pay for his actions. Because this man, as a surgeon, we understand has been making $4,000 USD on government payroll, and he's been working with other hospitals concomitantly at the same time. All right. He's been working and he's been making a lot of money from that, so he needs to pay for damage and other things. But thank you very much for that info. Now, what's happening in Yikipa, you said?
So you guys, this whole Yikipa thing for me, I'm getting a bit tired with it because we usually go there, use our own resources, gas our motorbike, go there, get the information. But we don't see action coming from the people who want to see the action coming. But how be it is our job that we choose to do.
That's right. That's exactly what I was about to say.
So only overall, somewhere around that August or September, we reported of ArcelorMittal taking fees from feces from Grand Basel.
You mean feces, right?
Feces, yeah, feces from Yekepa, from Grand Basel carrying the Yekepa at the time to dump it there. That situation will flag it.
I can remember that clearly. I was the one on the show.
We flag that issue up to now. We still watch. But what is happening right now? Typical Liberians have been seriously marginalized in Yekepa. As we speak right now, Yekepa, ArcelorMittal have brought a new team from Napa to start working. Common work that Liberians can do will now be done by those foreign national again in Yekepa.
And what are some of those common works you're talking about?
The common thing that the shovel work, common thing that driving work, common thing that no Liberian can drive around here. Common thing that maybe the brushing, some of the flag. This common thing that now about maybe a big thing for Liberians. They have brought people from Napa, and those guys came from, they were here as supervisor all along. So those guys been sleeping at the Albino Hotel in Ghana and that of Jackie in Sunny College. And the ArcelorMittal have been paying the bills all along. So it is now time that we're getting that they are about to take over now to remove some Liberians. In fact, several Liberians will be removed and it will be replaced by those Napa. So we're also getting a deeper information that on the 28th of this month, we closely following that. There's information that came to us Indo that on the 28th of this month, the entire cigar security will be changed, and there will be new team coming from outside to also take over there. So these are things that we've been following, and it is seriously embarrassing the young Liberian people who feel they can survive through ArcelorMittal office.
These are information you got, but have you been able to verify them from the management of ArcelorMittal as to why those individuals are coming to the country? Are they coming to take over jobs that Liberians are doing?
As you can see, it was sometimes surprising to know that the bureaucracy with ArcelorMittal interview process is a difficult one. For you to have got one person at ArcelorMittal a bigger level, maybe the boss is one of them, to interview them, it might be magic that you will play.
They have a spokesperson, right? I think Joaquin Sendoro is the spokesperson.
And Joaquin, how you call it? This Diayu guy from Grand Basel County.
Okay.
Two spokesperson. So usually when you call Winston Diayu from Grand Basel, when you call him, you always say he on a leave, he on a break, until he come back. And tell me, we are also using our research to go after information. But then when we go to Joaquin, Joaquin will say, you're not the appropriate person, except you get a Winston fight, and Winston will give you the authority to do that. So always time for you to just get those people to talk with them. They guess you find it difficult, except where the common people on the ground, you will get close to them. Sometimes you got to go around them, you'll see on one thing, we'll be lecturing. Then they will be giving you details, and you will start going in with your information. So what we're telling you now, not one of us has spoken to us in the county, but we have done our investigation. For those Napa guys are in the county right now, they are already starting work tomorrow. Effectively on the 14th tomorrow, those guys will be starting work, and several Liberians will be dismissed, and it will be replaced by those Napa guys in the Yekepa.
Have you been able to speak to the Liberians that are working with ArcelorMittal, and if so, what are they planning on doing if this investigation is true, or if those guys from those foreigners come to take over jobs Liberians are doing? What are employees of ArcelorMittal they're contemplating on doing, especially those who will be, like you said, dismissed?
The media is the voice of the voiceless, so the people are passed through us to speak for them, because they would not publicly come to speak. You and I know. So we have started with them on 2 days. I was in Yekepa on Saturday up to Sunday. So some of them I spoke, more especially female who are leaving a job, were like maybe disenchanted, feeling bad in the process. But the best thing they can do is to pass through the media to report the information on their behalf. But according to them, they are looking up to their leadership too, because they can set up a leadership that will always guide and supervise them in the process. So they were saying looking up to their leaders to come in. Maybe they can engage the regulatory authority in the county, like the superintendent, like the county senator and whoever, to engage them to take appropriate action. But they don't have their own action to, because this is an office job that they were appointed to do. So when your time comes to be dismissed, you'll be dismissed. And now a job where you say it's a lifetime job, they can't dismiss you, no. So they were saying they are not in any way disappointed, but disappointed with that government or maybe their county authority, because most of those things that is happening now, they should blame on their local leaders in the county, because there is no action taken from government, no action taken from local leaders on the ground. So at the end, they are always the victim of everything that is happening.
No, okay. So earlier on, you talk about transportation of feces from Grand Bassa to Nima Kante to be dumped there. How's that process? Is it still happening?
That was not really the problem for which I went there for. It was this information I gave you that I went there for. But I'm very sure this is still happening because it will flag the issue. We expect follow up. But at the end, nothing is happening, so people feel we just come and flag the issue and go. So
Okay.
whether it's still happening or not happening, I'm yet to know. We need another more time to go there and do my own critical journalism on there and follow it closely to do some fact checking on that. But like we say, it's in our own community. It's happening there. So for Q, rather, it has been in Q community, it's been happening there. So for the status now, I don't know how it is there now, but it was not really the key reason for which I went there. I have gone to find the information I got from someone last week, and it is true and confirmed that Nampa is here based in Avino Hotel in Ganta, based in San Nicolas, and they can be transported every morning to go and come back, and the hotel fee has been paid by ArcelorMittal, which you think the money can be paid to other staff who are there that can pay 4-5% salary in the month. But this seems to be flagged out so that we'll see action coming from government.
Thank you. Victor Cooper from Upper Nimba. It's been a pleasure having you on this morning.
It's also my pleasure. Thank you, Legacy.
Okay, so yeah, he's Victor Cooper, that our Upper Nimba County correspondent. Mr. What were you listening to, Victor?
I like some of the questioning you put up because we are journalists. I mean, we don't run with ear they say. I mean, when he spoke, he didn't come clear to say as to whether he spoke with the affected or would be affected employees. But these are rumors they are getting.
No, I think he said that. He said he was able to sit with some of the employees.
The media is the voice, of the voiceless. But what's happening, government has to do with bureaucracy. They're not going to run with things the way the ordinary Liberian would expect the government to take action. One, it is alleged that you got people from Napa in the country to take over jobs being done by Liberians. So the government is watching, and we know the government will have to protect her citizens or citizenry. That's one of the things I think I got out. That's one of my takeaway from the interview you had with him. The people of Niba are looking forward to the government to come in defense of their citizens, because you can have Liberians being, dismissed from doing work, at the ArcelorMittal, which is one of the country's biggest employer right now, and having foreigners coming in to take over a job to be done by Liberians. So I think that is something we all need to watch out for. I just hope it's not true, and I think the government will take action. That's one of the expectations. I know Liberal government will have to step in, if at all, what the correspondent is saying, it's about to happen in Niba County. The government can sit and allow Liberians to go on a job. For people from Napa, we know the situation in Napa currently is not good. Many of them are seeking refuge in nearby countries. So to have somebody who is now trying to see how they can, import them into Liberia and see how they could also benefit, because it's almost like when we were refugees in other countries during our civil crisis.
Okay.
You have this kind of opportunity popping up, but you have people who benefit from these things.
Okay. Yeah, so folks, that's it. You're listening to the Today Show right here, the Spoon Breakfast program. Because of time, we wouldn't speak to our other correspondents because we've got a lot to discuss here this morning. So yesterday, the Speaker of the House of Representatives resigned. So he now becomes a former Speaker, Fonante Kofa. He resigned on yesterday, and of course, he was hosted right here on the Spoon Talk. The interview was very, 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 very revealing. He said a lot of things. He also was able to clarify or respond to allegations of, taking money to resign. So he said he did not take any money to resign, except negotiations done for the legitimate salaries and benefits of his colleagues, lawmakers who stood by him, who stood with him in this political fight, to be paid. He said, except for that, he did not take any money. And as to whether elections will be held today, and this is the interesting part about this entire saga, because earlier on, there has been debate over who's the legitimate speaker. Even when the Supreme Court handed down its ruling, there was still this debate. Who is the legitimate speaker of the House of Representatives? Okay, you have Richard Cohen on one hand from the majority bloc, and you have the former speaker who resigned on yesterday, Fonanti Kofa, on one hand, even though the court's ruling was very clear that Fonanti Kofa remains the legitimate speaker, the legally elected speaker of the House of Representatives. The folks on the majority bloc claim that the court's ruling was not in the right direction. In fact, the majority bloc speaker rejected vehemently the court's ruling. All right? And it has come to a point where stakeholder intervention has played in. And yeah, the speaker has resigned, Fonanti Kofa. But there were negotiations done also. So we are understanding that there's going to be an election today. So if that election takes place, now let me just read this press statement from the House of Representatives pertaining to what I'm talking about here. Yeah, so just bear with me for a minute. Okay, so here is it. It says House of Representatives acknowledges.
Can you just paste it on the screen?
Resignation of former speaker. I'm not in the position now to do that. It's going to take time. Yeah, so let me just read it. So it says House of Representatives acknowledges resignation of former Speaker Honorable J. Fonanti Kofa. Commits to election. The Honorable House of Representatives acknowledges receipt of the resignation letter from former Speaker Honorable J. Fonanti Kofa on Monday, May 12, 2025. In keeping with its constitutional mandate and in the best interest of the Republic of Liberia and its people, the House will convene on Tuesday, May 13, 2025 at 10 a.m. for its first day sitting of the second quarter of the second section to conduct a fresh election for the position of Speaker. All the interested members are encouraged to formally declare their intention to participate in what will be an open, fair, and transparent electoral process. The House remains committed to upholding democratic values and working diligently in service to the Liberian people. Signed, Robert Benjamin Haynes, Director of Press and Public Affairs, House of Representatives. So this is directly coming from the Director of Press of the House of Representatives, who has been working alongside the majority bloc speaker, Richard Cohen. So that is, if this is coming from the majority bloc, then it means there's going to be an election of a speaker today. So if there's going to be an election of a speaker today, then why our time have been wasted over the past months? Because we say for Richard Cohen was speaker. And now Fonanti has resigned as a speaker. And Richard Cohen and the entire majority bloc are giving in to an election. So now the question is, why have they been wasting our time? So it means Richard Cohen had known previously that he's not speaker. but they have just been fighting an unnecessary political battle. Unnecessary political battle. So they just wasted our time for nothing. They just hindered the progress of this country. They just burned the Capitol building for nothing. If they have known that Rachel Kuhn is not a legitimate speaker, but pretentiously because of politics, they decided to purport him as a speaker of the House of Representatives. Because now, you say, prior to his resignation on yesterday, you said he has been removed. Fonatikova has been removed, and you elected a new speaker. And that new speaker has been working as a speaker, you know,
And that reflected,
making decisions.
it reflected in a press statement that the former speaker has officially resigned. So all along, I think what the majority bloc is saying, he was removed prior to his resignation, official resignation.
He was removed.
Yes, because I listened to Robert Haynes when he said the former speaker.
No, but Mr. Owuya, I don't think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
I think the point here is let's look at the election that will be held today. Majority bloc have been claiming that they have a speaker, Rachel Kuhn, and Rachel Kuhn is the speaker of the majority bloc.
And not just they claiming, I mean, because they did not just purport themselves as Speaker Rachel Kuhn did not just propose himself as speaker.
Okay.
He was also recognized
By
carrying on function.
Okay, by the executive. He was recognized by the executive and was carrying on functions as a speaker. So if he's been a speaker, then why now the man who they consider removed since?
That's the biggest question.
Why now the man has been removed and now they're releasing a press statement that today they will be holding election. Election for what? When they said Rachel Kuhn is a speaker. So I mean, they just wasted our time in this country for nothing.
That's a big question that not just
they just wasted our time in this country for no reason.
They exactly also need to speak to because Speaker Kuhn, Representative Kuhn was recognized by the leadership of the executive as a speaker of the country, and you have ministers from the executive branch appearing before him. We know
before him.
We also know he did carry on. He did affix his signature to so many documents as speaker.
Went outside the country, represented the country as speaker.
Yes. So, these are.
So why now are we going? Rachel Kuhn has not been removed. No group of lawmakers have gone and signed a resolution to remove Rachel Kuhn as speaker.
This whole thing at the.
So now you say Fonati and not speaker, the man now resign. So why now we talking about election today? Why now we seeing the press release that there will be an election of a new speaker today? So what has Rachel Kuhn been? Hasn't been a soundbites?
Well, we also need to acknowledge the fact that the former speaker Fonati, did not just walk in the path to resign. I mean, he resigned under pressure. That is something we need to acknowledge. Fonati, who are still wish to be to stay on as speaker, but he was pressured to resign. And part of the negotiation was there should be fresh election.
I think Fonati resigned.
The was negotiated. Yeah. So, and I think the election that will be here today. It was part of the negotiation, and that is why the House of Representatives is going to elect a new speaker today, in keeping with the negotiation that were held, being closer to make sure some dignitaries.
You see, this is very shameful for our country. This is very disgraceful. Why it's true that politics is necessary. I think. When we are politicking, our politics must be done in the interest of our country. Our politics shouldn't be done to stall the growth and development of the country or to stall the operations of the government. All right. And we must be able to respect the rule of law. And that's part of the arrest agenda. Rule of law, upholding the rule of law. We are all governed by the rule of law in this country. So if we don't respect the rule of law, then who are we? Because the Constitution is the only guiding principle that we have. Without the Constitution, just imagine having a country without laws. Imagine how it's going to be. The strongest. It's going to be the survival of the fittest. The strongest will survive. The weak, the poor, are going to suffer. And that is why we have the law to protect everybody. To protect everybody. But if we start to, audaciously disrespect the law, violate the law, only because of political interests, I don't think it's a way to go. And we are the same people who were in opposition yesterday criticizing this same thing. And we in power, we're entrusted by the people, and we are here just repeating some of the same things that we spoke against yesterday, disrespect
to the
rule of law. And this is very, very unfortunate. So Richard Cohn and the rest of the guys, I think you're just wasting our time for nothing. They just wasted our time for nothing. I think this was very, very simple. The Constitution is clear about the procedure when it comes to removing a speaker. The majority bloc did not meet up with that. And even about electing a speaker, the majority bloc did not also meet up with that.
I think the procedure was hectic and there were too many errors, and this is what that need to be rectified now on today. So the whole thing about the female at the House of Representatives, I think it's now in the past, and we hope that we can learn a lesson from this going forward, because this is not the first time we remove a speaker. And this time around, I think there was a lesson learned.
So I don't think Fonante Kova was removed. He resigned.
He resigned.
Yeah, he resigned. He wasn't removed. He resigned.
Yes,
and yes, I will agree that because of the situation, because of the political infighting at the legislature and everything, that's why made him to resign. Yes, I do agree.
He held on.
But he was removed. He was the removed.
Authority was also restored by the Supreme Court, and he later on resigned.
Yeah,
no. Fonate, I think those guys that will be elected at the House of Representatives going forward should learn a lesson from this, that you don't just wake up one morning and say, look, we are going to remove our leaders. Now, there are procedures that you must meet going forward. 37 to elect, 49 to remove, according to the former speaker. These procedures weren't followed. So I think a lesson has been learned from the Fonate scenario going forward, not just our group of lawmakers who will wake up one morning and talk about removing their speaker or their leader. They'll have to meet all the procedures, I think, going forward.
Yeah, so we hope that going forward, this is not going to get repeated. But today is the election as announced by the Honorable House of Representatives, and who are the candidates being talked about? We're hearing Musa Hassan Bility and Richard Cohn, who said he was a speaker, but he going again to get elected for the speakership for the second time.
Who said he was a speaker?
Yeah.
Or who was serving as speaker?
He was purporting himself as speaker. He wasn't a speaker.
He was recognized.
Of course. So being recognized by the executive as speaker does not mean that you are a speaker. The Constitution laid down a clear procedure to remove an election of a speaker.
So
So how was he elected? Was Fonanti removed before his election? So how can you call him a speaker only because the executive recognized him or because he served in that position? He purported himself as a speaker. He was only playing the role.
Kun did not just jump up one morning and travel to Egypt to represent Liberia as speaker. He was recognized.
Recognized by who?
By the government.
By the government, not the constitution. So that's why he wasn't why he was not a speaker.
The government is the one who implement the very constitution we are stressing today in this saga, the House of Representatives.
Okay.
It is the government who supervises everything. So if the president of the republic recognizes Yekezi Zoboy as
so today, if the I'm not even a representative. Let's take for example. So if President Bouaka decides today to recognize maybe let's say Prince Toh as a speaker, so it means Prince Toh as speaker, even though he did not go through the rightful procedure.
He's not once the government recognizes Prince Toh as speaker and he represents the country outside Liberia. Yes, he's representing Liberia as the speaker of Liberia.
Is he the speaker?
No, constitutionally.
Constitutionally, he's not a speaker. So what? Anything that is done outside the constitution is not done.
It's not done legally.
Anything that is
done legally.
Anything that is done outside the constitution is not done
legally.
It's not done. It's not in place and even shouldn't be recognized. It shouldn't be recognized.
Yeah, because you see, we got legality here. One is done outside of the constitution. We say it's not legal. But we can rule out the fact that yes, Richard Kun represented Liberia as speaker. So he did not act on his
I'm not ruling out.
I'm
not ruling out that he purported himself as speaker. He purported himself as speaker and represented Liberia outside the country as speaker. And guess what?
He spoke on behalf
he
of
can criminal charges can be pressed against him. Do you know that?
That is what I listened to yesterday on the Spoon Talk.
Criminal charges can be pressed against him. Maybe not by this government, but other governments
who come.
Yes. Other government, I don't care how long it takes.
Yes, you got his
other government to come can press charges against Richard Kun for purporting as a speaker.
Yes. So
Richard Kun has just placed himself in a very, very serious predicament. Yeah, so we go to the lines and talk to a few individuals and we'll be back to speak with our guest here this morning. Call us on 0777 771 0770 0770. The first number is not on. So call us on 0770 417724 0770 417724 0555 101075. Those are the numbers to put you through. Let's go to the line and talk to this first person. Good morning. Your name and where you join us from?
Yeah, Legacy. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Let's hear you.
This is Ben Joshua. Come on, taxpayer money sweet.
Okay, taxpayer money sweet. Let's hear you.
Oh, thank you. You know, they too will waste our time in the community.
They waste for me, Richard Kun waste our time.
Yeah, I come in now.
Richard Kun waste our time.
Yeah, Richard Kun waste our time. But Frank also waste our time too because the father is he wanted for him to be removed by the non-member, right?
But all the constitution said the man wanted to
no, that was
be removed by 49 people.
Removed by 49 men, the thing resign because people 20 years to resign because there's a starting now how to be friends. And you know what I mean? Because now what happened now? You know, they put 9 for 9 member moving from there, but then he resigned. And they see him better and say resign. Then you know, for the country to move on, but nothing, he refused. But now he resigned, they bring a favor, now he resigned. So they're not moving, they won't bring a favor, but now they put moving on there. That's what you know. So the other was our time. We have resigned a long time.
Thank you. The man was telling about the rule of law is the memories. Let's talk to another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello? Hello, you there?
Hello. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you.
Let me say good morning to the SLSA person, Broker. Summer take about from Grove in the 17.
Please go ahead.
So the same language all of panelists speak on the show at night is the same language you guys are speaking. So I even say that Richard Kun purporting himself to be speaker and asking myself a question. Who was presiding at the time when the election was declared by majority bloc? It was Thomas Fala. He was constitutionally elected. They had a statue arm. They had a deputy.
How will another speaker be elected where you have a sitting speaker?
So there was resolution signed. All resolution.
How many persons signed that resolution?
Over 48 persons signed a resolution.
That's not true.
Are you giving me
that's not true. But go ahead.
If may a point allow me to make my point, right? Go back to that.
No, but I wouldn't allow you to disseminate false information.
So the resolution was signed and people went back. I mean, they told themselves for the 9% and went back to the former speaker Fulani Kofa, and the argument was you are not rescind your resignation. You are not going to go to say you're trying to de-associate yourself with what was signed. So the issue is Richard Kun was elected on web ballot. We were conducted by Thomas Fala and
Thank you very much. 077771075 077771075 555101075. Those are the numbers to put you through. Call us and have your say. Let's talk to this person. Good morning, your name and where you join us from?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Angel calling from Finger.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as a person, so the way Kofa resigned and Kun abnormal speaker. So, for 2 of them face, I'll cover any back of this right.
Well, the police is investigating who actually carried out the arson attack on the Capitol building, and the police investigation is going to tell us, who did that or who did not do that, and the president is going to face the full width of the law. Thank you very much. Let's talk to another person here. Good morning, your name and where you join us from? Okay, let's hear you from Ghana-Seville.
Yeah, my brother, as the serial caller was saying, Richard Kun won on a web ballot because you see most of them.
Do you elect a speaker when there's a sitting speaker? Okay, we lost him. Let's talk to this other person. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Victor E. Flomo, and I join a conversation from Pablan community.
Victor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to thank Fernando Kofa for his role play in show standing up for the constitution of the country and the rule of law. What must be established here is the fact that if the majority bloc believes that their action of making Richard Kun a speaker as a 3-term power was legitimate, then upon the resignation of Fernando Kofa, they should have insisted to maintain Richard Kun as the current speaker of the House. But the mere fact that upon the resignation of Fernando Kofa, they have all agreed to go back to a fresh election. It's a clear indication that every action of the majority bloc over the term past was illegitimate. With respect to the Kofa first, some of us in this country.
Thanks for calling. There are others on the line who want to make that contribution as well. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Let's hear you out.
Yeah, so you said with our time for me, only cause predicament for himself in the long run. That will haunt him. He will be prosecuted. People are saying.
Hello.
I think he won.
Okay. You can call us back if you can. Let's talk to this person. Hello.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Tava Bonicino, number 11.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, my
Richard Kun District.
We are speaking about a long run of Kun in the future. I think a lot of people will be brought up because Kun is a single man. He has no right as a single man to be a speaker. So Kun was elected by people, And the same presiding officer today who will be presiding over the election will be conducted. Is the same person who will be presiding and put Rachel Kuhn into power. Rachel Kuhn now give on the sky and go and pass budget. Rachel Kuhn now give on the sky to go and represent that go outside. Rachel Kuhn now give on the sky to increase civil salary. And the power now is invested in Rachel Kuhn by the police. So if the Rachel Kuhn was not a speaker, there is no single individual can represent that go as a speaker outside with all the support of the people of the House of Representatives.
Thank you. Thanks for calling.
The people of the House of Representatives.
Thanks for calling. Let's talk to another person. Hello, your name and where you join us from.
Yeah, good morning. This is Bobby Johnson, calling from Symphony Junction.
Okay.
Yeah, I would first like to tell you thank you for the discussion. But I mean, I'm not surprised at School FM because for the start of this fight, you were against the majority black, you were against Richard Kuhn. But if you say that you could be prosecuted for what you do, then when we talk about Supreme Court that allow themselves to hold the money, they will also be prosecuted too. That's what you're talking.
Supreme Court will be prosecuted. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They
receive money, they receive salary. The first man to go to get a pay on, and get a pay on. 4,000, 60,000, and the cap 550,000. So it means they have to be prosecuted too, because if you know as a rule, then he sends them to me to go hold the money that I still have paid on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for calling. Let's talk to this person. Good morning. Your name and where you join us from?
I'm Comfort George calling from Vernon Hill.
Comfort George. Let's hear your comfort.
Yeah. What I want to see, Fanati Kofa has resigned.
Okay.
If Richard Kuhn is a speaker, why did he resign? Now he comes again. Why? I want to know this.
That's the question we're asking.
Yeah, he said he's serving as a speaker of the House. And he's going to run. Why you resign before putting in his request to go and run? Why?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for calling. Let's talk to this person.
Richard Kuhn also resigned, according to her.
Hello. Let's hear your name and where you join us from.
Thank you. My name is Buddha Lomene Saki. I'm from Justice County.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your suggestion. I sound that confused. Richard Kuhn was a speaker. Why is it the speaker resigned, the former speaker resigned? Then they're discussing about elections. So are you trying to tell us Richard Kuhn took what the budget? Then right now you want to have election, what to have it when you're already a speaker. So that means that the process to record the budget. That means everything you're doing is all the benefit the Richard Kuhn had. They mean like everything is because they may have that power. I can't understand why to be a election today. If it be a election today, then Richard Kuhn should run as a speaker.
Thank you for calling. Let's talk to this person. Hello, your name and where you join us from. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you. Good morning. Go ahead. Let's hear you, please.
Well, my name is Jonathan Joe, and I call in from Area District 6.
Okay, Jonathan, go ahead.
Thank you very much this morning for all the insight. You know, when anything is not done well, it is not done at all. But I believe that the House of Representatives, they are on course. Fanati Kofa, who were acting, I think his position that he was occupying, he was acting because the president said it clearly that this country cannot be held hostage because of the irregularity in the house. So any or side that have the majority, I will work with them. So I mean, the majority needed somebody to guide them. This is why Fanati Kofa, I don't want to call him speaker. Fanati Kofa.
But the man resigned. The man is speaker again.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. The man is speaker again, so you don't have to call him speaker. Call him former speaker.
Richard Kuhn, this is what Richard Kuhn was acting.
Is that Richard Kuhn or
does the Constitution gave rise to electing an acting speaker?
No, he was only acting. That was just around them. It was.
But he was
only
deputy speaker
acting
before he
because
act.
they needed to function.
The
So he was only acting
Constitution
for the
says
Constitution does not
when the
give
speaker is
any
not
right for
around, the
acting speaker,
deputy
sir.
should act.
Yeah, in the absence of the speaker,
In the absence
the
of
deputy will act.
of the speaker, then why must Richard Coon was Richard Coon deputy speaker?
The deputy speaker should have acted.
Thank you very much. So we talk to the last person. We have a guest. Shuttle will be playing host too. Let's talk to this last person. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Dad?
This is my spoon.
Welcome. Let's hear you.
According to the interview last night from our bossman Spoon, from Waterspoon to Richard Coon, the 1 hour in me at, and he did well to ask him. He said, "Oh, don't worry about your own. Who were the plots against you today? The Liberian people have been suffering." He never wanted to tell us. Husband said, "No, tell us. Let the people know." He said, in the first place, Thomas Farah, you and Thomas Farah are friendly. You can speak to each other. He said, "No, we can't speak." He said, "What's about the president? What Opon did?" He said, "In fact, from the very beginning, Opon was the one that even called me."
Okay, thank.
Come quick.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't want to. Are you getting me?
Yeah, we're getting you, but we are out of time now. So thank you for calling.
I just want to say the coup that plot was made by the citizen. Look at what the pastor called them. To tell them, they start telling them they want pastor, they want that God, they're not God business.
Thank you.
Government business the law.
Thank you very much. So, folks, you're listening to the Today Show right here on Spoon 107.5. Thanks to all the people calling in and making your contributions. We will take a very quick break as we play you this interview with the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Ponanti Kopa, who resigned on yesterday and today at 10 a.m. The House of Representatives will be electing a new speaker, and of course, contenders in the election are Richard Coon and that of Musa Hassan Belete. Who's going to be elected today? Is what we are looking forward to shortly. So we will take this short break. To be right back with you with our guests, the Deputy Director for Administration at the National Food Assistance Agency and his colleague.
Constitutional. It is incumbent upon all of us to follow the rules of the Constitution. Yes, this is politics. Our opponents generally say, "Oh, when the majority don't want you, then you have to leave." Well, that's not how the Constitution is written. Maybe that's how we should do it, but that's not how it's written. And then they say it's politics, it's legislative politics. That's how they behave. Well, it's not animal kingdom, so it's a body that should be governed by laws and rules, even in how you remove your leader. The Constitution says 37 to elect, 49 to remove, and all we stood for was to vindicate that simple principle, and we're glad that on April 23rd, the Supreme Court of Liberia reaffirmed that and gave us that victory.
With such a big victory coming your way, and when I ask the question, how did we get here and why we get here, that leads to this question: why couldn't you hang on?
Well, I couldn't hang on.
You won the war. You won, Councillor.
That is correct. I could not hang on because, Stanton, I'm from the Sastan warrior culture. We fight not for victory, we fight for honor. Because we won, the necessary condition to our victory should have been implementation by the executive branch of the Supreme Court decision. For example, recognition of the Speaker, accord me the necessary privileges and immunities of the office of the Speaker, assist me in restoring the overtaking of the infrastructure of the legislature. The executive branch, through a speech made by the president, decided that it was not going to do so, and in their action, they did not do so. And Representative Coon began to double down. Remember, they with additional armed security, went to the Capitol building, they installed steel doors. They then announced on their social media pages that Kofa will not be allowed to preside over anything here. What that tells me is, looking back in the last 6 months of what happened in November and December, right? Where you had violence at the Capitol, police brutalizing lawmakers, protests, and eventually a fire. While there were other attendant reasons, the primary reason was, if you do not get the assistance of the executive branch to implement the Supreme Court decision, then I need to do self-help. That is, go to preside, go with my people, and what the result was going to be, I guarantee you, would have been the same fracas that occurred. So I took the wisdom of Solomon option. You know, in the Bible, when the two ladies were fighting over the baby, and they went to King Solomon, one lady, and Solomon said, look, I will take this knife and I will split this baby. And one of the ladies, who genuinely was the mother of the child, said, no, King, give the child to her so the child might live. So that the Constitution of Liberia, so that the respect of the legislature can begin to be returned to it, my preference was give them the speakership so that we can return to constitutional order, so that Liberia can no longer be a laughing stock in this legislative impasse.
How many men? Let's talk about your manpower, Councillor. Prior to the Supreme Court ruling, you were actually, the numbers were looking at maybe 26, 28. Am I correct?
Well, going into, if we had had a flow fight today, tomorrow, we would not have had nearly that number because of the anticipated violence. I think a lot of our people will stay away. But now, with the resignation, and I see some overtures from the House, the majority bloc, announcing elections for tomorrow, I think things have calmed down a little bit. And so we return back to our strength of 28, and I dare say we may get in the chambers tomorrow with a strength of 30 persons. We are trying to hustle an additional 7 to win the speakership.
So actually, did that lead to your resignation, saying that men were moving, they were leaving your camp, and you couldn't have quorum?
Well, I think this is a misnomer when people say, oh, we deal with quorum. So let me set it back legally, right? There is no quorum, all right? At the time the Supreme Court made its decision, April 23rd, there was no quorum. There was not a necessity for quorum because we were not in session. What was important with the Supreme Court decision was the leadership. Who's the speaker? Who are the committee members? That was the important thing. Quorum comes tomorrow. And according to the Supreme Court decision, you cannot have parallel sessions. So we are all being forced to go there tomorrow. All right? We would have all been forced, if we go by the Supreme Court decision, to have gone in one chamber tomorrow. The question that was going to happen was who presides. Okay? So it was never about will we get quorum or not get quorum. By the Supreme Court decision, quorum was going to be available. The question is, were we going to recognize what the Supreme Court said was the right speaker or not?
Oh, so let us talk a little bit about Richard Coon. We saw the document that he resigned also today upon receiving your letter of resignation. Resigned from where?
No, Stanton, you're talking to Fanatico for, I think Richard Coon is somewhere else. I would not know why. I don't know why he resigned. I don't know what he. But Stanton, I don't know why he resigned or what he resigned from.
Speaker, it's on your page. They have opened a new election scheduled for tomorrow, beginning at 10 a.m. Liberian time. And they said Richard Coon resigned. Did you see any letter? Did you see any letter of Richard Coon? I can put your letter up that you resigned. Did you receive any letter that Richard Coon resigned?
Well, no. I'm not sure what he was resigning from. I mean, the Supreme Court, the law in Liberia is what is not done right is not done at all. So therefore, I'm not sure what Representative Coon resigned from. But I don't want to dwell on him. I think you should get him on your show and try.
No, I will. I have to ask you because you're still a member of the House, though. You are not resigning as representative, are you?
That is correct. The clerk has not shared with me or anyone I know a letter of resignation from Representative Coon.
So, were you part of the meeting yesterday or Saturday with the president? Did you attend that meeting?
No, I was not. I did meet the president on Friday and informed him of my decision to resign on Monday. I was not part of the meeting yesterday.
There was a meeting held yesterday.
Yes, there was a meeting held yesterday.
And that meeting led to the agreement that there should be election scheduled for Tuesday, which is tomorrow. Am I correct?
I'm not sure that meeting was about elections. I was not there. I think that meeting was more about guaranteeing from the president the payment of benefits and salaries, which had begun under our previous agreement that, look, I will consider the resignation. Please make sure these people get paid their benefits. I think that payment began. It was not complete. So the president wanted the opportunity to assure the members at my request that these payments will be made, even if the resignation is effective. There can be no negotiation on the issue of elections, right? Because that's what the Constitution and what the rules say.
A pleasant welcome back. You are listening to the Today Show, the Spoon morning show, your most preferred breakfast program from Odious Congo Town in Monrovia, Liberia. It's 15 minutes flipping 9 o'clock. And of course, my name is Yekezi Zobe. I'm here alongside my colleagues, Sylvester Wowie and Chokon Flaman. And as we told you at this juncture, we're going to be playing host to Honorable Bob Yenua Kato, Deputy Director General for Administration at the NFAA, the National Food Assistance Program, that's agency, and Ms. Annie Makili Flomo, Program Officer of that institution. So they are right here with us in studio. So let's get into the conversation with them this morning. Bob, welcome to the show. This is not your first time. You've been coming here over and over. Miss Annie, Miss Flomo, sorry. Welcome to the show. I think this should be your first time. Yeah. Okay. Just come closer. Okay. Welcome.
Yeah, but honestly, let me say good morning to our listener and good morning to the good people of Liberia, the peace-loving citizens, and it's a pleasure to be here on your show. And I would like to say thanks to the Spoon family.
Okay,
for affording us the opportunity once again.
Okay, Miss Annie, welcome. You want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. And you are right. This is my first time appearing on Spoon event, even though I've been one of the followers.
Okay.
Annie Mackley Flomo, the Planning and Program Officer of the National Food Assistance Agency.
Okay, it's good to have you on and feel at home as we go on with this interview. How is the NFAA, Bob?
The NFAA is good. You know, there's a story in the Bible, in Acts chapter 3, I want to believe from verse 1, of a man that was born lame. He was seated at a place called the Gate of Beautiful all alone, asking for alms. So in the Bible, it's a story that one day Peter and John were going, at the hour of prayer to pray. And in expectation, the man raised his head to ask for alms. And he said to him, silver and gold we have not, but all we have we give. In the name of Jesus, rise up and walk. And so the story have it that when the guy woke up, instead of walking, he began to leap. So when you are seated for a long time and others are going ahead of you and others are making progress, when you have the opportunity to wake up, you don't walk, you run. So the National Food Assistance Agency is not doing it normal. To catch up, we have to double up. So we are speeding up so as to catch up, to play our role as an institution of government responsible for food assistance across the country.
Okay. So you are running, you are now walking.
No, we are not walking. If we walk, we will not catch up.
Okay.
Since 1970, the entity being assistant, and even you did not hear about it until you had the opportunity to attend our program just this year. So it's almost the case of a man who did not walk. The Bible says it was a man, it was not a boy. So it made he live for a long year, and that's the same case with the NFAA. Now that the president and with the help of other people, we've been held by our hand to rise up. We cannot be walking. We got to run to catch up.
Okay, so now since this has been an institution that has been, working behind the scene, or the workings of this institution has not really been known to the public, you just, again, I've asked you this question before. Tell us the background of this institution, the mandate of this institution.
We are the WFP in a sense to Liberia. The basic mandate of the entity is to ensure food security in terms of providing food assistance to the vulnerable population. So I use the United Nations scenario because there are two institutions that basically in a food security cluster, the Food Agriculture Organization and the World Food Organization. Now, World Food Program is the humanitarian arms of the UN that give food aid and food assistance across the globe. So that's the role we are supposed to play in Liberia, to coordinate all food assistance programs between the government of Liberia and donor partners, foreign donations of food aid. We are supposed to supervise all of the institutions providing food assistance across the country. We are supposed to serve as the repository, the data bank, from all of the population that are in need of food assistance and those institutions that are providing food assistance, as well as the impact each of their intervention is making on the lives of our citizens. So basically, it's a huge task, and we cannot be working to achieve that.
Okay, yeah. So since you started running, what are you running with?
I didn't want to start running with because you're the program. I think our program officer know how fast we are running.
Yeah.
First, let's establish that this government of Liberia, headed by His Excellency Josiah Imam Boakai, is interested in making sure that its citizens have access to food. And I was reading through the.
Miss Annie, just want to come on this side towards Bob a little bit. Okay. Yes. Good.
Better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, thank you. I was reading through the WFP report of 2018.
Okay.
And you see that Liberia, we are in trouble because the number of Liberians who don't have access to the proper and sufficient food, they are at most 47%.
Okay.
We have 47% of our population who live in food insecurity. And of the 47%, we have up to 37% who moderately are at normal. That's nutrition, that's having access to nutritious food. And we have 8% who don't have any idea where they will have food from before the day ends. So with this government is focused on making sure hunger is eradicated in Liberia. So with that, it has again released the executive order of 149 that purposes on strengthening food security in Liberia. So with this focus to strengthen food security, The NFAA role is to coordinate all, we are not saying one or two, we are saying all food assistance programs in Liberia to make sure hunger is eradicated. And if somebody may ask, I don't want to wait for you to ask, I know you want to ask that question. How possible is it to eradicate hunger? Then I go back to the WFP definition about food security. It says when all people at all times have physical and economic access. I like the word physical because we are not talking about if you lie down and eat in your dream. It means we've eradicated hunger. We are saying having physical access to nutritious food, especially the local produced food. So what we have running with us is to identify all of the food assistance agencies, organizations, or institutions in Liberia, understanding their mandates, and see how we can collaborate in making sure together we can fight hunger in Liberia. Because if all citizens, not one, all have access to sufficient food, they have availability of accessing nutritious food, it means everyone was smart in this country. That's a form of eradicating hunger. Eradicating hunger means when you have hunger, you have access to food that will kill the hunger. So we have in our hand collaborative tool. We have in our hand coordination tool that we are running with, searching for all of our partners, all of our donors, all of our contributors who have been fighting to make sure the arrest agenda to strengthen food security is being adhered to.
Okay. Yeah, you want to buttress that?
Well, I think she laid a basis, Andy is the program person. So we have been on this journey and we have been making friends with everybody. The good thing about it, even on a national function, when you go and somebody says, what's her name? You start with introducing your institution first. They say, what's the name? They say, I'm a National Food Assistance Agency, all geared towards, popularizing the institution. But where we are, there are a lot of things we put in place to make sure that we start the ball rolling. And the president just gave us a renewed mandate through Executive Order number 149, putting us in charge of food assistance programs and putting us in charge of the overall food security. So, like she said, our Director General, Honorable Boubacar A.M. Salif, gave us, he's the leader of inspiration actually, gave us a motto. And our motto there now is collaboration and not confrontation. The issue about food security, you can see, is not one person business, okay? Each of us here, there are people around our homes that go to bed hungry, and that's not normal. If you are not working, if you are not educated, if you get no money in your pocket, even if you get nowhere to sleep, at least you should not go to bed hungry. Food is the number one of the physiological needs. People must have food to eat. People must be dignified, at least going to bed, not worry about where to get the next meal the next day. So we have a big task and we cannot perform this task by ourselves. We are open up to collaborations with the media, with all humanitarian organizations. We look forward to collaboration with even the citizens. So there are a lot of initial steps we've outlined in achieving towards achieving the mandate given to us by the president, and some of which we will be able to delve into as we go along.
Yeah, so you talked about collaboration with Food Assistance Agency. The NFAA has been dormant for some time now, for a very, very, very long time, and has not been able to collaborate or work with food assistance agencies. So now that you've begun identifying those food assistance agencies to begin a collaboration with them, what has been the reception from them?
Yeah, so the first thing is
because first the confidence has to be built in the NFAA before the collaboration can take place.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what we've been doing. We decided to start first of all with government institutions. Most of the foreign food aid that come to Liberia passes through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if you can record.
Yeah.
So one of the persons we made friend with in recent time and try to engage regarding our road was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Her Excellency Sarah Beslo Yanti. And she was also shocked, like many others, that an institution exists in this country that is responsible for food assistance programs. She said sometimes food aid come here, the China food, the Japanese way, and all of those. But we met with the National Disaster Management Agency also to forge a form of collaboration. You know, during disaster period is also a time where food assistance are provided. We've basically engaged with the Ministry of Education repeatedly because they too do school feeding. And number one of the mandates the president gave her is to ensure the implementation of sustainable homegrown school feeding using locally produced food. So yes, the Minister of Education has attended, I think, 2 of our board meetings, and she's been collaborative. But there's an assistant minister, Sonati Sise. She's also been very cooperative. She's involved with the student welfare. So we've started engaging these institutions of government by supposed to be, concerned or involved with food assistance programs. See how best we can have a form of collaboration so that we coordinate the food assistance programs in the country. We also, when we developed what we call an operational plan last year, we invited most of these organizations in food assistance program, the West Hunger, the Mercy Corps, so many of them, the FP and all of those, on the table to share the plan with them. So it was a very big stakeholder engagement, and we've been working with 1 or 2 of them in recent time. But moving forward, we have a plan to put a coordination mechanism in place. So first thing we intend to do is to convene a roundtable meeting with key stakeholders that will include the Ministry of, the World Food Program, the FAO, UNDP, the Ministry of Agriculture, Foreign Affairs, Finance and Development Planning, Education, Health. We also want to involve the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
Okay.
And then those we are calling on a roundtable, the National Disaster Management Agency will also call in them. And there are 3 objectives of that roundtable discussion. 1, we want to establish a National Food Assistance Coordination Committee.
Okay.
We need a steering committee that will coordinate food assistance programs. So we don't do sporadic food assistance, segmented food assistance programs, disaster time, different person doing it. When it comes to prison feeding, another person doing it. Let's have a coordination committee that defines who does what and all of that. That committee is going to centralize planning. They're going to be involved with policy direction as to what to be done where, and it's going to be able to align partners' resources. We don't have much, so it can be spread. That's objective number 1, the National Food Assistance Coordination Committee.
Okay.
We also hope to achieve establishing or constituting a joint technical working group as a result of that stakeholder meeting. So the joint technical working group will involve technicians from this institution forming a team. They can be able to come up with a implementation strategies to mobilize resources for food assistance programs. And third, and most important, we want to develop a multi-partner coordination framework. We want to develop a framework that defines what each of the institutions' role should be, and in terms of disasters, in terms of school feeding, feedings of inmates, feeding of vulnerable people, the blind people, the crippled people, the people with physically challenged people, what each of us role should be. And then we as the coordinating entity will sit down and monitor who is doing what to be able to know the impact. So we want food assistance activity across the country should be coordinated, and to do that, you need all of these stakeholders involved. So that's the essence of the roundtable discussion that we are trying to, engage with in recent time, with all of these stakeholders on the table, and a technical committee established, and a framework developed, and then we are all guided by how food assistance is carried out in the country.
Yeah, I think the executive order by the president of recent that gives a boost to the mandate of your institution, to the functions of your institution, and that order was very, very specific that the NFAA will work in collaboration with key international partners, including the World Food Program and the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goal of eliminating hunger by 2030. So I think the order is so specific that the NFAA will do this, that the NFAA will do that. So why do you think your function is conflicting with the functions of other agencies like the National Disaster Management Agency?
Well, anyway, coming, but the function is not conflicting.
Okay.
When you have been dormant, it just requires collaboration and coordination. All right.
Okay.
You will realize that the Ministry of Health, for example, is responsible to do to take care of the entire health of our country, right? The health, the social welfare is being taken by these other people agenda, but Ministry of Health concerns with our overall health. But you know that we have government health facilities. We also have religious organizations who open clinic and health facilities, right? We got private individuals who open health facilities. They are not doing the work of the Ministry of Health. But all you will do is, before these health institutions are established, there are standards that the Ministry of Health established that you have to go by, because they are the sector institution responsible for health. So if we should be responsible for food assistance programs, or what they call, we are not saying representative cannot go in a district to give food assistance. We are simply saying we should be able to know where food assistance are being given to be able to measure the impact. So don't bypass or just get involved. And the only way that will happen is when there's a coordination and collaboration mechanism with a clear framework established to say this person will do this, this person will do this, and during this time, this is the thing that should be done.
Okay, and under the in the Executive Order 149, there were some mandates given to the NFAA that the NFAA will, number one, implement sustainable homegrown food school feeding programs using locally produced food. Let's look at these mandates one by one. How do you hope to go about achieving them?
So those are the key focus.
Okay.
In fact, to making sure that we strengthen food security in Liberia.
Okay.
We must first prioritize what we produce in our country. So that part, I say, implementing sustainable homegrown. Homegrown means to grow food in your own country.
Yeah.
Let me put it in that term so that even my mother down there will understand it. We will be focusing on food that are produced in Liberia. To name few, for example, if you should ask anybody what type of food is produced here, somebody will tell you peanut. Somebody will say edo. Somebody will say rice. And, so the food that will be provided to school to keep them up will be food of local produced. And we're going to work with farmers, because if you look at the second focus area, we will be empowering farmers. How? We are going to be purchasing those local food from them, and they are going to use the money again to reproduce. So if a farmer produces, for example, 1 metric ton, maybe that may be huge or less, and NFAA is able to purchase the surplus. Mind you, we're going to buy everything for you to go hungry, because the interest of NFAA is to secure food for all citizens. So if the farmer is producing food and we are purchasing it, it means that we are purchasing the surplus. So that also empower that farmer to be able to reproduce more. So as internally the cycle is on, it also empowers more reproduction. And then now the regional, development comes in, where we have regional hub established. Those food, we just going to buy it today and just give it today. We're going to have some stock. So we also will be working to identify people of expertise that will build the capacity of staff to be able to store those food. So that, for example, if you keep it idle, you are able to keep it for 2, 3, 4, 5 months or 1 year, that it won't spoil. They have people of the expertise that will be identifying or looking for to build that capacity. So the local homegrown food will be the local food that we can use. And mind you, if some older people in the 70s, in the 80s can recall, the same homegrown food for school feeding existed.
Okay.
And we used to have the school project where you have potato green, you have beta ball, and they just went and fetched those and cook for students on campus. Even though there were other foreign food,
Yeah,
for example,
like the
buckwheat, like cornmeal, like
split
sardines, split peas, those were all added. But
those things.
yes, and one thing it did was it increased attendance.
Okay.
It improved, it motivated students. At some point, students didn't need the parent to say, hey, it's time to go to school. You have to go, because if you went there, you have access to food. Even if you did not have recess, you have access to food. Then you will be able to interact with friends. Then you will participate in a class. So the NFAA will focus, as per the mandate from the president of Liberia, on homegrown produced food to be able to build the nutrition of our students, of our vulnerables, of our less fortunate. And another key thing I wanted to stress has to do with vulnerables.
Okay.
We will have our own standard and definition for vulnerable after we shall have built our strong team and collaboration, especially those committees. We're going to sit down and redefine what do we mean vulnerable. Because if you look in there, you're looking at the blind, you're looking at the crippled. Sorry to just mention that they visually impaired. But if the visually impaired can produce his or her own food, they have access to nutritious food all by themselves based on what they can acquire. Do we want to give them food? No, we are talking about the least fortunate that have no idea of where to find food, that have no idea of where to access food. So the homegrown food, like right now, the NFAA has a standard. We are measuring 60-40 for now.
Okay.
So those few areas,
60% homegrown food.
yes,
and
and
40%
40% foreign food.
Okay.
So the reason is that we will have some international support that may come in and want to help, because there are a lot of humanitarian organizations out there that also want to contribute to this SDG, that also look at food and eradication of hunger. Are they going to bring Edo? No. Why, if somebody wants to send sardine, do we say no because we are dealing with Unilateral produced food? Maybe in there we can start working with them to say, okay, thank you for the sardine, but we could also establish how to call it, a group here or a company here to produce sardine. But until then, we are also open up to receiving foreign food to be able to reach out to those needed, so that every Liberian will have food to eat and not going to bear hungry.
The aspect of the storage facility, I think, is very important, because there are a lot of home-grown food here in Liberia, but the storage problem is the problem. Most of those food will rot because there's no storage facility. Do we really have experts, to ensure or to teach our farmers here in Liberia, talking about Liberian experts, about how to store their produce to last longer, because it's a serious problem for farmers.
So before Bob can come in,
Mm.
the first thing we have as privilege is that we have the Ministry of Agriculture
Okay.
that is responsible for all agricultural activities. We have group that is also responsible to make sure food is ready and nutrition. And there the collaboration and coordination comes in. We are working with the Ministry of Agriculture to be able to put in place those expertise. We are working with the institution responsible for food testing to be able to test the food so
Okay.
that we can have the quality of food for our people. So to respond to you with the presence of Ministry of Agriculture is, yes, we have the expertise. We just need to pull them out, and that can be pulled out through our coordination, through our engagement.
All right. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, so like Annie said, with collaborations and with coordinated efforts, a lot can be achieved. And I tell you, there's no challenge insurmountable when you have a better collaboration or coordinated effort. They say you can see in the morning move from Congo Town and go Central Monrovia, or you are supposed to be to Central Monrovia to collect something and bring it.
Mm.
So to get to Central Monrovia, there are steps, there are places you have to pass before you reach your Broad Street, for example. So most of these things are mandates given us, but like we said, there are initial steps we've outlined, and that's the first one is the collaborative aspect we mentioned. Another thing we intend to do is to conduct a nationwide assessment and stakeholder mapping.
Okay.
Now, my boss was with GSA as Deputy Director General when during the Ebola time, Honorable Baka A.M. Salif. And during that time, there was some storage facility I understand they built around. So one thing we want to do in WFP, my understanding is also have some storage facility to build around. So during the assessment, there are a couple of things we want to establish. One, we want to collaborate with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Gender and Social Children and Social Protection, Ministry of Justice, as a matter of fact, to identify eligible beneficiaries, those who are to be beneficiaries of our programs. You know, considering our own condition of vulnerability, like our program officer just mentioned. So we want to identify in those counties. We're starting with 4 counties. The assessment is a nationwide assessment, but the first phase will be in 4 counties.
Okay.
Grand Bassa,
Bon, Maryland,
yeah, and Grand
and Lofa.
Okay, Lofa. Okay, 5 counties. So the 5 counties we're starting: Grand Bassa, Bon, Lofa, Grand Jide, and Maryland. Now we want to firstly identify our beneficiaries, and the next thing is working with the GSA and WFP. We want to assess the status of those existing facilities, those existing storage facilities.
Okay.
What are their conditions? Are they still usable? Do they need renovation? Is it minor renovation? What will require to recondition them? We need to have that assessment done. And on the same trip is using one stone to kill several birds. We want to also identify and register the farmer cooperatives. And we're going to work with LACRA. That's LACRA?
Yeah, and also the EFP.
Yeah. We are going to work with LACRA to identify those farmer cooperatives, those who are into planting. She didn't mention my own food, my local food, cassava, which everybody eats in this country now. You know, those who produce cassava, we want to have cluster these cooperatives based on what they are producing.
Okay.
And then we also want to map key stakeholders and create a total database of food assistance items. That's one thing the president wants us to do.
Okay.
How many institutions doing food assistance in Maryland? How many institutions doing food assistance in Grand Bassa? We do that for the 5 counties on the 4th phase, and this assessment will actually be repeated, 5 like that in the 3 in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. when we identify who is doing what, where, and with what resources in terms of the actors, the food actors, we can now come on the drawing board to prioritize what initial steps we can take, what can be our immediate action point, and what can be the long-term plan in achieving this goal. Then, of course, we can go out looking for the resources and make sure that those plans align with the budgeting process.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward from there, there's one more thing we want to do. After we've done that, we intend to develop a standard operating procedure. Now, the standard operating procedure is basically for the registration and validation of our beneficiary. Who should be qualified for your programs? How are they going to be qualified? What the recruitment processes are? How are they going to be enrolled? All of these processes must be clearly written in black and white and publicized so people know who are the beneficiaries and how they can benefit. It's for transparency as well. Let the donors know that those who are benefiting can be this person, this person, this person. To be considered full insecure, to be qualified, you should be there. Like somebody was asking me, you can't eat hunger. Like me, I don't eat in the morning, but the food can be on the table. And I can be hungry, but the food is on the table. The food is on the table. I don't want to eat it. I'm hungry. It does not mean that I'm not full secure. It's my choice. Or you're hungry and you got money in your pocket, but you don't have the time. We are talking about people who want food to eat, and they don't even know where to get it. Even if the food is sitting there and looking at it, they don't have the money to. So it's about availability, it's about accessibility, and it's about affordability.
Okay.
So once you can afford the food and it is available and it is accessible, if you choose not to eat it, you are not a hungry person in our understanding. So the standard operating procedure is going to define, but by then we've already have the database of our beneficiaries. The prospective beneficiary, we already have database. When I mean beneficiary, I'm talking about targeted groups that you think, can fit within your programs. And then you develop the SOP as to how individual can be qualified, and then you can move on with the full implementation.
Okay.
And during that time, we're going to launch one program that you, the media, will help us to do. And that program is going to be called the National Food Donation Awareness Campaign. We don't have much resources to achieve all of these things, even in the national budget.
Okay.
And with the drawdown on donor fundings and USAID and other organizations, we don't want to put all the weight on donors. So to come up with innovative ideas that will bring additional resources to support our programs, we intend to work with the media, the religious leaders, the mobile network operators to launch a National Food Donation Awareness Campaign. That National Food Donation Awareness Campaign will be open up to every citizen, every organization, year and outside a year, who is willing to give a cup of rice, so that at least one blind man on the street can be able to sit to the house and get food to eat. So that program is going to be launched, and when that time comes, we'll talk more about it.
Okay, Ms. Flomo, you want to elaborate a little bit more on the development of regional food hubs and storage facilities across Liberia to be able to strengthen food systems and respond quickly to emergencies?
Okay, yes.
That's one of the mandates in the executive order.
Yes, thank you. And like Boss said initially, we are going to work with existence structure.
Okay.
Like he made mention, there have been existence of warehouses, for example.
Okay.
So the assessment is targeting the location of those warehouses in those 5 counties, the condition, the capacity, and what are some renovation needed. Then we start to work on that. Like I said, we will be working with farmers to get surplus of food. And those surplus, we're going to keep them in our various homes. We are going to keep them at the local level. So the regional hub is a local storage, a local warehouse, where in those counties, the NFAA has warehouse to keep food. So where there's emergency, for example, We don't have to be running all over the place looking for donor support before we can intervene. Our intervention will be as a county because we have food kept in different warehouses in our counties. And we will have county coordinators that will be having the oversight responsibility to ensure that those food in the local areas are secure and are serving the internal purposes. So the warehouse, which is considered a regional hub, is key, especially to the president of Liberia, to the government of Liberia, because preparedness gave rise to your impact. Preparedness gave increase to your achievement. Where you are not prepared, you get confused when the need comes. So having regional hub is preparedness, is preparing food for people who need them. In so doing, as we'll be stocking food, we'll also be giving out food to the needed.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Owe.
Yeah, my concerns are less to you. You being tasked with the president's vision to eradicate hunger. I mean, I heard you talk about your partners, how you tend to work, but I mean, what are you bringing on board? What do you have, I mean, in stock that you're going to get this program rolling out?
We right now have the human resource capacity. We have at some level the technical know-how. We also have the mandate to carry out these functions. So those partners, like our partners that we've earmarked, in line with what the partners, the specific partners that were, named in the executive order, that the WFP, FAO, and so. We also looking at the action against hunger. We are looking at the gender ministry that is dealing with children and other vulnerables. We are looking at the Ministry of Justice, because if so, we will need security to be able to prevent harm or disruption. So what we have is the expertise. And one of the things, like Mr. Zubwe asked, that we are working on is to make sure that everything we are preparing now will be on black and white. Because one of the things that made the NFAA to be dormant is because it's operating on executive order. And it takes a government who has interest in its people in such approach to be able to pay attention. So if you follow the NFAA existing from the 70s, the only reason why it had been dormant for some time is because existing leadership were not really paying attention to bringing its function out.
Okay.
So because of it, they kept it dormant. As a result, this body, the NFAA, is working on high and lobbying with the legislature to be able to enact NFAA into an autonomous organization. So it means government leaves, government comes, it exists as an autonomous organization with a defined and key function. So it means that if Annie is no longer around as project officer and Annie is coming as project officer, there's something that Annie must use to be able to intervene in eradicating hunger in this country. Because the target is now in 2030.
Okay.
The executive order is for 1 year. Within 1 year, will you be able to meet up with all of what you are saying here, especially in the absence of funding from national government and looking at the cut-in external support? We know, for instance, the United States government, which is the highest donor to most of the institutions, have cut off fundings. How are you going to, in 1 year time, meet up with all of what you just said?
So before ball comes in, if you look at the executive orders, it's stating between now and 2030 what we intend to achieve. So it indicates that They
So
are
it's
short
basically
term
geared
and they are
towards
long term.
the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Precisely. And
Yeah.
they are short term, they are long term. So this 1 year executive order, cycle, the first thing we want to achieve in there is to identify and create database, to identify all food assistance agencies
Okay.
and create database as part of the function. Yes, we can achieve that this year. The next thing we want to do is that we want to identify all of the hubs in the region, in the 15 counties, through the assessment. Yes, we want to achieve that. In terms of eradicating hunger, that is continual.
Okay, we don't have the luxury of time. Is there anything that maybe you want to touch on that we didn't ask that's important?
Well, basically, this is a long journey. It's not a one-day journey. But there are steps we have to take, practical steps, realistic steps, deliberate steps that we need to take to show seriousness that the National Food Assistance Agency is repositioned to coordinate food assistance programs. And part of those steps is the collaboration, bringing all of the actors on the table for us to come up with plans, come up with a team, a coordination team that will serve as a steering committee for food assistance programs, and coming up with a framework that guide how food assistance programs should, be implemented across the country, and of course, assessment, like Annie said. So these practical and initial steps are achievable with all hands on deck. Okay. So we are convinced that Executive Order number 149 is achievable.
All right.
And we ask all stakeholders that food security is all of our business.
Okay, so let's just go to the line shortly to take a few calls. If you're listening, call us on 777 1075 0770 4177 24 0555 101075 0555 101075 0770 4177 24 0777 0777 Call us on these numbers if you have questions for our guests here this morning, and for those of you listening to the show, in fact watching the show live on our various television platforms, you can call and also have your say. But as we await the calls, you just want to maybe conclude as we await the calls, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're waiting, following the.
Okay, let's see if we can talk to this person. Hello, your name and where you join us from? Hello. Okay, go ahead.
I'm following the comments from some of those who are listening.
Okay.
And someone is concerned of how long this, they said, the defined food assistance at free food. Okay. And how long it will last for. Yes, it lasts as long as Liberia exists. And that's why we are trying to put in place modalities to be able to sustain what we want and what the government wants. The next concern is there should be credible people to be able to enhance this. Yes.
Okay, let's see if we can speak to this person. Good morning.
Good morning, my dear brother.
How are you? Let's hear you quickly.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. Let me say thanks to the two studio guys for the wonderful presentation this morning. My name is Roswell NP, calling from the Galaxy Highway. I mean, we always tell to people, the fact that other countries are doing it, we should also do it. Let's plan for our country properly. I admire the Liberian government. I mean, we can't be pressing other people, then we can't do what other people are doing. We have been listening to ourselves. So bravo to President Boga's government and bravo to the studio guests. Let's build our country because this is the only place that we have. If we can't build Liberia, nobody else is going to do that for us. So I'm proud much to be a Liberian citizen today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's see if we can hear from this other person. Hello? Hello, are you there? Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so someone is concerned about, people with credibility.
Yeah, people with credibility.
Yeah, to manage this, to enhance this. Yeah, so a lot in the preview of my brother or sister, whoever the person is, when it comes to credibility, it's one of the keys for this government. Transparency, accountability to our people, commitment to what we say we are doing. How unfair it is when you have food to eat and someone by you is sleeping hungry. So the credibility will depend on all of us who see the need for this. And that's the reason why we want to make sure that every mandate of the government be implemented, even if we are not present, so that even if another person is coming, maybe it may no longer be executive order, it will be an act. But those functions should be implemented in line with the need of the people.
Okay.
Liberia must get somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, we should be out of here now. It's 4 minutes on the flip side of 10 o'clock. So yeah, just wrap up your parting comments before leaving.
So first of all, the National Food Assistance Agency is headed by Honorable Boubacar A.M. Salif. He's not a stranger. He's been around. And throughout his life, as working life, as at the Agriculture Ministry, Agriculture Bank, GSA, National Fishery, National Transit Authority, he's been a person of integrity. And I think that's what has carried us as an institution. We took over in no time. UNDP came in, supplied all of the furniture and stationery we needed. As we speak, FAO has paid Partnership for Sustainable Development Liberia to develop our 5-year strategic plan. And so this confidence came about based on how we conduct ourselves. So the issue of integrity, yes, we can guarantee that we try our best to manage our life so people can trust us. And all Liberians, food assistance is all of our business. I don't feel happy seeing the children taking their parents on the street to beg for alms. And the basic thing these people are trying to find survival, fetch survival for is food. Once these people are sure of getting food to the house, the children will go to school, the parents will be able to live a happy and dignified life. That's the role we are here to play, and we are going to collaborate with all institutions interested or involved with food assistance to achieve that. I want to say thank you very much, and thanks to the full family.
Okay. Ms. Annie, Ms. Flomo, finally.
Thank you, Mr. Zubwe. I just want to say we stand tall to intervening and making sure that we achieve on the Executive Order 149 and to make sure hunger is eradicated in Liberia through all of us, through our efforts. Thank you for the hosting, and thank you to the listener.
Thank you very much, folks. You've been listening to folks from the National Food Assistance Agency of Liberia. And of course, you listen to the Deputy Director General for Administration, Honorable Bob Yenua Kato, and Miss Annie Makali Flomo, Program Officer of that institution. They've been discussing basically some of the achievements of the institution and of course, the recent executive order by President Joseph Boakai. Yeah.
You want to bring a man back?
Yeah. So the executive order is basically meant to strengthen national food security. It's been a wonderful conversation. Sylvester Wu has been here alongside me, as well as Chokon Flama. We'll be back here on tomorrow with another very, very thunderstrucking edition of the program. Remember, today is going to be very, very dramatic at the Capitol, where election for a new speaker will be held. So all eyes, up Capitol Hill or ears are there to know who will be the new speaker. So until later, my name is Yekezi Zobe, bidding you pleasant goodbye from ODS Congo Town in Monrovia, Liberia. Bye-bye.